lawyering and hope. I think a cynic would think those two words shouldn't go together, but I think lawyering properly done is very much equated with hope.
Laws matter. As much as movements matter, laws matter because they send signals and they influence good behaviour. What worries me is that obsessing about legal change can mean missing the opportunities to make the changes that matter most in people's lives. It's not just about chasing after law.
For me, the law is not something that could work in isolation. The law is the tool for the campaigning. Campaigning is the tool for the changes. The law is not the leader. The law is to strengthen community.
The kind of lawyering that I am developing is identifying that the law is not necessarily in my side or against the work that I am doing. The law is just a tool to building possibilities for collective power.
When I began studying laws in China, I have very different understandings of law, which is a tool of authority, not the people. We were taught the law is to serve the Communist Party, the government, the politics, not the people. We got the power to make the right decision for the people.
You know, you're showing up not only as a community lawyer, but also as a person whose, life is going to be decided on by this bench of judges. There's a vulnerability there. Even in the vulnerability, I think there's a possibility of analyzing power and engaging with power, and also looking at the power that you hold as a person, so that it's not only the stories of your clients, of the communities that you're bringing in court, but you're more impassioned because you're bringing your truths to court.
Community development needs to go hand in hand with a legal challenge to human rights abuse. You cannot address community development issues if there are underlying human rights violations.
For me, a very early learning and a very early sort of value that I had was that it's important to be as close as possible to the people that are most impacted by the injustices that we see. And that's where you get the best understanding of what's actually going on. The question that we always ask ourselves is like, what tools do we have at our disposal? What do we bring as lawyers to really amplify the voices that need to be amplified, or to really support movements in getting their demands heard, and heard even more loudly than perhaps before?
Deciding to use the law as a strategy for us, or for me as a sex worker, it's not simple. Given that the law has always been used against us as a community, that has made it very complicated for us to be able to believe or trust in the law. But I think what we needed was a little understanding of what is the law, who makes the law, and who is in a better position to change that law, and what are the strategies that we can use for ourselves to change a law. So that's the reason why, as a community of sex workers, we decided on decriminalization. It was not an easy task for us to go with, but the challenges that we've faced doubled our efforts to make sure that we use the law to make sure that we get into decriminalization of sex work in Kenya.
We had a case in Limpopo province in South Africa, which concerned a little boy. He was only 5 years old at the time. His name was Michael Komape. He went to school and he fell to the bottom of a pit toilet in his school and he drowned. I don't think you can imagine a more horrible, more painful, more ugly, undignified death. We were the lawyers in the case for Michael Komape's mum and dad and brothers and sisters. And, when we started that case, one of the things that I had to do was to help build this anger, help set the fire, if you like, amongst the lawyers. So we went and visited schools all over Limpopo province to look at school toilets. And I insisted that our lawyers actually look into the school toilets so that they could understand and they could imagine what indignity it is for a little boy or a little girl to have to use those toilets, and out of that they would find the passion and the anger that would be needed to take on a case like this. And how do you link that to the courts, and how do you link it to a very bare right as articulated in a constitution?
It is clear to me that while the power of law and the power of people must work together, there's no formula for how campaigning and the legal process interrelate, except perhaps that neither campaigning nor legal action will bring success on their own. It's a fluid situation requiring flexibility in strategies and flexibility in the lawyer's role. Whose voice is being presented and how it's being presented are context-specific decisions. They will be influenced by and will influence the choice of where you advocate.
Sometimes your legal victory is just that, a legal victory in the court, but it doesn't actually mean anything on the ground for your clients. And so you have to sort of think about what else does it mean for your clients if it isn't going to change their reality.
The relationship between movement building and any legal strategy is symbiotic and interdependent, and legal advocacy needs to be understood as just one of many strategies to bring about change. When movements and lawyers work together, the shift in power and transformational impact is greater than the sum of the parts. Lawyers are masters of legal procedure. They must become equally expert in the procedures that unleash power outside the courtroom too. Education, access to information, community organizing, agency, and media exposure.
If you want to make any difference, you have to be a social activist. You have to learn to communicate with people. You have to mobilize resources for those people. And you have to inspire people to fight a long battle. Those skills, certainly I didn't learn from my study and law schools in China. And I didn't see those skills taught in many law schools globally. You have learned by doing, helping the community people, helping the people lead your service.
If we really put the law at the disposal of people who are most marginalized, perhaps it is possible to shift power relations in a way that actually will shift systems as well.